Hi, my name is Chris and I've been growing food for over 10 years. Now I started out like many of you as a hobbyist. So I lived with my parents and we have an apartment, and I started growing along the walkway, hanging small pots of plants. And then I got more serious into it, and eventually I did it commercially. I grew food for restaurants and hotels. And I also started a community project, growing food in a community garden, growing food for the community. And all these time, I've had to bootstrap my way through it. Starting a farm, a garden is actually really costly. And if you are a gardener yourself, you would know this. Buying soil is so expensive and it could deplete your funds really quickly. It could be a really expensive hobby, right? But all this time, I had to really be resourceful and find ways to do things more cheaply, more affordably. And I managed to do so. And it's really surprising that you could find all these opportunities in really expensive places. So I did most of my business in Singapore, which is an extremely expensive country, but yet I managed to make money and make profit out of it. So today I'm going to share tips to help you to do that. First thing that I want to talk about is land, because rental in cities, places like London, Paris, Seoul, it's going to be extremely expensive, but yet you can find spaces to grow your food for absolutely no cost. And all you need is a little bit of thick skin and resourcefulness in finding these spaces and then speaking to the people who own these spaces. Now, the first kind of space I want to talk about are landscaped areas. So many commercial spaces, like could be a condominium, shopping mall, offices, they would usually have gardens that they maintain to keep a certain look, to make the place more green in general. And many of these spaces, they actually contract a company to maintain the space for them, to prune the plants, fertilize them, so on. So one opportunity is to use these spaces to grow food. You can do this in different capacities, but what you can try to do is to approach the developer or the building owner with a plan. Could seek to value add them in some way. It could be, for example, starting a community garden that involves their staff, or it could be growing food and then giving the building owners some vegetables in return for the space. And you can work out an arrangement that is conducive to them. For example, you could say, hey, you don't need to pay me to grow the food here, but the benefit is that you will get some of these amazing stuff in return. Or you could pay me a little bit to organize some of these activities for your staff. So there's lots of different options and methods that you can approach for such spaces. There are lots of these spaces if you really look around closely, and the range of stakeholders might differ from individual owners to even governmental stakeholders. One of the community gardens that I started, the community garden that I started, was how I got it was actually I wrote a proposal to the MP and I said, hey, I want to start this community project, grow food for the people that's living around this area. And the MP said, hey, look, that's a great idea. Let me offer you a space, which was an existing landscaped area. And he carved out an area for me, gave me full ownership of it, and even helped me to raise some funds for this project. So you know what, it is possible, and all you need to do is really find a way that adds value to this particular person or organization, and the sky's the limit. Of course, if we are not looking to go so big, if you're just like individual hobbyists, why don't you just ask your neighbor, right? If he's not doing anything with his balcony or in his backyard, you could try and ask if you could lease the space, borrow it, barter trade, give him some vegetables. You never know what you're going to get. So that's something you could explore. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about is planters. Because planter boxes, pots, these can be really expensive. For some of my clients, they want planters to look a certain way, and some of these planters cost hundreds of dollars. And I know that sounds crazy, but that is the price people pay these days. So now, if you think about it, a planter is essentially just a vessel that holds your pot. A planter is just a vessel that holds your soil and your plants. And I feel like if you're starting out, you don't really need something so extreme, something so expensive, though people like the way certain planters look. But you just need something to hold your soil. So when you buy fruits, this was my kiwi box. This makes a great planter. What things you can look out for is the depth of it. So depending on what you're growing, roots like to go deeper. So this height of about 15 centimeters, it's perfect for many of the vegetables that I would like to eat. Also, this container has holes already. So soil likes to be well draining. So when I put soil in here, water can flow out when I water it. And it's a good size. This could fit 2 or 3 leafy vegetables if I wanted to plant them here. Free of charge. I was gonna throw this out anyways. So these could be used. You could use different materials like fabric, your clothes. I've seen people use jeans, their shoes, their bags to contain soil and grow their plants. So really interesting. Wood is another good option. Wood is so easy to use, so easy to put together. You just take 4 sides of it, screw it together, and you have a planter. Just take note that certain kinds of wood break down depending on where you are. It could be as fast as a year if you're using like recycled pallet wood in a very tropical condition. So there's so many materials that you can use, and these are all available around you. So just look around and be observant of what you can find. So now you've got your land, you've got your pot. The next thing you want to look for is soil, right? So the thing about soil is, yes, you can buy them, and sometimes I do buy the soil, but very often people are also throwing away soil, right? For example, many people buy a plant and then it dies for whatever reason. You don't water it, or it's just old, and you have bits of the plant in the pot, and you look at the soil and you're like, oh, it looks so dry, and it just doesn't look like it's healthy anymore. So they think, oh, I need to throw this all away, or I've given up on gardening. Whatever reason, people throw away their plants, and this could be a good time for you to save the pot and recycle the soil and recycle the dead organic matter or plants that are in it. So soil generally does not need to be thrown away unless it has like a really nasty disease, but generally speaking, soil is something, it's a combination of different things. Maybe sand, it could be different kinds of organic matter, broken down dead organisms, but soil should never be thrown away. It should generally just be replenished with more and more good stuff. So more living or dead organisms. In general, we call that organic matter. So what you can do is take the pot that people have thrown away, add things like compost, organic matter. Over time, that will make the soil structure better, and you can use it over and over again. So that's one way to save money. Another option is, if a little bit harder to find, but sometimes when developers are building a new building, they often have to dig to remove soil to put their foundations, and that's where you could approach them and get some soil off you. Often they would be happy to pass it to you. So the next thing is the inputs. What are you going to plant into your soil, into your pot? Often we buy seeds, right? We go to a garden shop, supermarket, and we see, ooh, there's a lot of seeds there. Now, it's very fun to go shopping and buy seeds. I love doing that too. But actually, you can save a lot of money, especially for certain seeds that are so easily, for certain seeds that you can get via this other method I'm going to teach you. So, for example, pumpkin seeds, right? So you've got a pumpkin, you want to eat it, so you cut it open, voila. And what do you have here? You got seeds, lots of seeds, right? Each of these seeds can become an entire pumpkin plant. So you've got easily a few dozen seeds in this pumpkin. And if you were to buy the equivalent of a seed pack, this might cost you anywhere from $3 to $5 per seed pack, multiplied by, I don't know, like 5 to 10 packs. So you could be saving anywhere from $15 to $30 of seeds just by buying produce that you're gonna be eating anyways, saving the seed and planting them out. And because the seeds are fresh from this pumpkin that's still technically alive, the germination of the seeds would even be better than that from the seed pack, because it's much more fresh, so it's much more viable. So that's one way to do it. Alternatively, you could get say a garlic or onion, and if you wanted the shoots, right, you could just stick them in water and the roots will absorb the water and the shoots will come out. Sometimes you just need a little bit of these and you don't need to buy a whole pack of herbs. So that's one way to do it. If you're having some vegetables, some of them come with their roots on, and you can harvest the leaves do your stir fry, and then take the roots, put them into your soil, water them, and they will regrow back. So there are lots and lots of hacks and videos on this online. So there'll be no shortage of resources that you can look for. Alright? So you've got your land, you've got your pots, you've got your soil, you've got your seeds. Your plant has started growing. Now, over time, your plant is taking up nutrients and putting them into its roots, into its stem, into its leaves, to its fruits, and then you're going to harvest them, right? So what happens is you're going to remove all the nutrients that were in its environment, and you're removing and taking that away. So if you want your plant to keep growing, or if you want to plant a new plant, you're going to have to replenish the nutrients in there. Now, nature has a very smart way of doing it on its own. So if you think about it, leaves naturally drop onto the soil, it breaks down, nutrients get released back into the soil, and it gets taken up by its roots, and voila, the plant has whatever it needs. We can try to replicate this in our garden setting. So what we can do is we can intentionally chop off parts of our plants, our leaves, its stems, let it break down naturally over time, and the nutrients will go back into itself, into its system. Now, this is not a foolproof system. This might not give the plant everything it needs, especially for certain kinds of plants. I will not go too much into detail today, but this is one easy way to do it, or at least the principle is there, right? So it's about putting things back, putting organic matter back into your system, right? You can do this in different forms. Another form is via a liquid form. So you can steep some of this organic matter into a liquid like water, and over time the nutrients will leach out from the material into the water, and as you water the plant, as you water the soil, the nutrient-rich water will be absorbed back into the plant. So there are lots and lots of different resources online. If you like search DIY fertilizers, you'll be able to find different kinds of methods of fertilizing. So there you have it. I've basically given you like crash course of different ways that you can save money and get started growing your own food with absolutely no startup cost needed. And these things don't have to be in silo, right? If you can look at it very much holistically, and you don't have to do it alone. You can find organizations, people around you. Just get the word out there, and you'll be surprised what you can get and what people are willing to give and sponsor and donate. And often there are lots of people who don't have time. They've given up their hobby of gardening. They have extra pots lying around. Believe me, there is just so much free stuff going on right now out there in this world that we live in. And I hope that you can try growing food with confidence without having to worry too much about finances. Now, of course, at some point, this might evolve and you might realize that, oh look, these methods might have some limitations to them. If I want to grow a certain high-performance vegetable or fruit, I may not be getting all the nutrients that I need from some of these methods. And you might have to buy stuff, so I'm not saying you don't, but I think for people who want to start out or want to save money in certain areas of their growing, this can be a very good approach to adopt. Happy growing!